Well, hello again. Today we're going to get into some projections fun. If you've been through your lectures, hopefully you understand the differences between different projections, conic, cylindrical, all that stuff. This is kind of more practical application of projections. Your maps will come in all sorts of different projections, and there's in theory, there are an unlimited number of projections because you can actually create your own types of projections. ArcMap comes bundled with hundreds of projections. Generally, when you're working in the field as an analyst, you'll be working with a projection that is specific to your area or region. It's a little bit difficult to explain, but it's generally going to be applicable to your section of the earth that you're going to be working on. You're not really going to be working on, probably, uh, North America. The entirety of North America. It'll probably be a projection that's more focused and accurate for your specific area. So to start off this section, I've got my data downloaded, and we'll go ahead and extract all that stuff. So we'll right click, extract all, hit extract, do the same for county, extract all, hit extract, wait for it to get done. Yeah, block groups is pretty big. Still waiting on block groups. Anyway, projections are really interesting. It's crucially important that you get your projections correct, because if you don't get your projections, if everything isn't projected correctly on your map, then your features can be located in the wrong spot. Sometimes it'll only be a couple of meters off, which is still pretty bad. Especially when you're dealing with things like maybe fire hydrants. You want those things to be as accurate as possible, so you don't want it to be a couple meters off. Sometimes they'll be located in the middle of Kansas, or they'll be located at what we call Null Island, which is basically at latitude and longitude 00. It's off the coast of West Africa. It's not really an island, but that's where it locates to, because you've got the projection wrong. The computer doesn't know where to project it to, so it just sticks it on the computer somewhere. So you have to get your projections correct. You don't know how many times I've come across shapefiles, sent to me from some client from somewhere, and there's no projection to it, and so you have to end up figuring out, where it's projected from. It's always nice to know what it was projected in the first place. Sometimes you'll get that. Sometimes you'll have to, email the client back and say, "Hey, can you please send me the projection for this?" And once you know that, then you can start working. Okay, so I've already got ArcMap open, and I've got a new blank template open. So what we're going to do is we're going to add county.shape to the document here. So we'll add data. Still in the last lab. Should be lab 8. And we said it was going to be county.shape, so it's probably going to be located here. There it is. Okay, so you get this error coming up. It says unknown spatial reference, and that's your, it doesn't have a projection. It doesn't have a defined projection. So you'll have to define it for ArcMap. And so we'll hit OK for this. And we can even go into here, right click on it, and look for that projection. General source. Yeah, there's no coordinate system, so it's not really projected. It just appears on the screen. This is not useful for us because we can't place anything on top of it. We can't place new features on top of it unless we put them in manually ourselves, and that's no good. That's no fun. So we need to define the projection of this layer here. So what we're going to do is we're going to open Arc Toolbox. And this can take a little bit for some computers, especially if you've never opened Arc Toolbox before. So we'll wait for this to open. Still waiting for it to open. Okay, so now our toolbox is open. It took about a minute on my end for it to open. And you'll see that, all the different kinds of tools. The ones we want to be concerned with here, you're going to find it under Data Management Tools, Projections and Transformations, and then Define Projection Tool. So double click this, and it appeared on my other screen here. So we want to give it we're going to give it a projection. The input data set is going to be what you want to reproject, or the layer for which you want to define a projection. We only have one here, so it's obviously going to be county. So we'll drop that down, hit county. We'll wait for that to populate. There it goes. Okay, so coordinate system. This is where we're going to give it the coordinate system, obviously. So we're going to hit this icon here. And we're going to find the assigned projection according to the assignment. There's a couple of different ways that you can do this. The instruction says that we need to use U.S. National Atlas Equal Area Projection. That should be located, I think, here. Continental North America. There's U.S. We'll scroll down. Here it is, I believe. U.S. National Atlas Equal Area. Okay. Don't double click it. Just click it once and hit OK. To complete it and assign that projection, we'll go ahead and hit OK. And it should be assigned. Well, I think the tool is still running. If you don't know if a tool is still running, sometimes when it runs that, you'll see something down here that says project or define projection or something like that. There it goes. Yeah, define projection. That green check mark means it ran okay. If you have issues with that and you don't know if it's still running or anything, you don't know if it's still running, what you can do is you can go into Geoprocessing, hit results, and go into current session, and you'll see that tool that's running. If it's still running, you'll see an hourglass, and that hourglass means it's still running. If there's an error in it, it'll show you an error symbol here. But yeah, that's just something on the side. You don't really have to worry about that. Okay, so the instruction says we're going to start a new ArcMap document. You don't have to save this. We'll go ahead and start a new blank map. We'll wait for the new blank map to open. And so we're going to add county again. And this time, because we defined the projection for it, we shouldn't get that error again. We'll hit county, hit add, and now the color doesn't matter because that's assigned by ArcMap. But because we defined a projection for it, we don't get that error anymore. It has a projection now. We can even right-click on it, go into Properties again, and we can look for that projection. Here it is. Projected coordinate system, U.S. National Atlas, equal area. So it assigned a projection for us. So we'll hit cancel on that because we don't care about that. All right. Now we've got a separate case here. The instruction says scenario where the shapefile is projected and the information is correctly stored in the shapefile zip archive. That's basically this, what we've done here. Okay. It says let's start a new ArcMap document and add the county file. We'll go ahead and do it just because. wait for that to reopen, and we're just going to re-add the county. You really don't have to do this, but I like to follow. Along with the instruction. Bullet County came up in the blue there. Okay, this has a projection. But what we want to do is we want to define a new projection for it, or not really define it, but we want to reproject it. So what we're going to do is we're going to reproject this into what's called the Texas statewide system. So I still have Arc Toolbox open here. If you, for some reason, close this down or closed out Arc Toolbox, just click this, click that right there. And what we're going to do is we're going to go into Project. Not Project, Project. You can find it under Projection or Data Management Tools, Projections and Transformations, double-click Project. And so this is going to change the geometry of the shapefile to meet the new specifications. You have to figure out for yourself whether or not the file has a projection in the first place, or you just want to reproject it, right? So we're reprojecting here. So what we want to do is we have to fill out this stuff here. The input data set or feature class is obviously going to be county. It's the only one we have open. So we'll select that. This is going to auto-populate. Don't worry about it. This is going to write out a new shapefile. So we have to tell it where to save it. Remember, we don't want to save in default.gdb. We want to save it in our project folder. We're going to click on this, and we're going to save it in our Lab 8 stuff. Create us a new file, call it results, hit enter, we'll double click on this, and we are going to call this count, if I can type, county underscore projected. You shouldn't have to add dot shape to the end of it, but we'll go ahead and do that anyway. It should write it out as a shapefile anyway though. We'll hit save. So we make sure that this is being saved to our project folder. And then we need to change the output coordinate system. Remember, we're reprojecting, so we're changing from one coordinate system to another coordinate system. And this is something that you'll have to do pretty frequently if you're an analyst or a technician is reproject files from one coordinate type to another, so it applies to your specific area's projection. So our output coordinate system is going to be it's the Texas statewide mapping system, and that's going to be found in the projected coordinate systems. Scroll all the way down to I believe it's under state systems. We're going to scroll all the way down to Texas. Yeah. It should be the last, it's the last selection right here. So you don't want to double click on these, just click it, hit OK, and it will populate right here. Don't worry about this, like it says here, this is optional. And that should be it. We'll hit OK, and this is going to create us a new shapefile. It's probably going to take a little bit. You'll see down here towards the bottom it had project going across the screen, and then we have the green check mark right here, so we know that my project tool ran correctly. And this is my new projected file, and you can even go in and look here. We see for just county, we see that it's projected in National Atlas equal area. And if we check this one here, we'll see that it's projected to the Texas statewide mapping system. So we have different projected coordinate systems for each of these. So pretty easy stuff. The instruction is telling you what you need to do to check that. Start a new blank map, and we're going to add county projected to our new map when it appears. When it appears. There we go, new blank map. We'll go here, we'll go to add data. I stored that in a results folder. If I can find it. Okay, so let's go back in and add that data. We're looking for county projected. It was in my results folder, so we'll hit results. There's county projected. We hit add. There's no error. We can check that layer to make sure it was added or reprojected correctly, and we see that it is Texas statewide mapping system. Great. So everything worked out okay. Another way that you can check this without having to open ArcMap is to go into your file. And I've got this pulled up here, in the results. We can look for that PRJ file here. And the way that you can change how this is viewed, actually, is to go in and right-click in a blank area down here, hit View, and then just go to Details, and it'll bring up your type right here. And so if we look at our PRJ, you can see that for me, this would open in a Notepad file. You can right-click on it, hit Open With, and then hit Notepad. If Notepad doesn't appear for you, you can hit Choose Another App, and then select Notepad. You can hit More Apps if Notepad doesn't appear for you. At some point it will appear. You hit Notepad, and it'll appear like this. It's a bunch of weird looking stuff here, and all of this definitely means something, but the only part that you're concerned with is this part right here. Projected coordinate system. And this is this coordinate system that is projected in, right? So you can examine that through Notepad too, if you don't want to open ArcMap and do that. This is generally how I check when students submit projection files to me. This is how I check it. So just an easier way of checking things without having to open all of these files in ArcMap. Okay, so the next bit says that you need to do this with blockgroups.zip. Great. So what we're going to do is we're going to open a new blank map. We've opened a lot of new blank maps today. And we need to do this for blockgroups.zip. So we've already unzipped that. And we're going to, it says we're going to reproject this layer into the Texas statewide system. Okay, so let's go ahead and add block groups to this. Data, block groups. This is our block groups layer, so we're going to go ahead and add that. And just because I want to do it, we'll go into here and we'll look at the properties to see how it's already projected. We see that it has a geographic coordinate system, but not a projected coordinate system. So we're going to give it a projected coordinate system. So we'll hit cancel there. Doesn't seem to want to draw fully for me today, but doesn't really matter. Well, maybe it does, because it's not going to let me do this until it draws. Okay, so these are all the block groups for Texas, right? During 2015. So we're going to use a project tool to reproject this into and give it a projected coordinate system. So we will double click this and we're going to repeat exactly what we did before. The input data set is of course going to be this one here. The output data set, remember you don't want to save it to default.gdb. We're going to save it to a results folder. So I have to find my results folder. If I can find it. Where are you at? Here's what we'll do. We'll go into folder connections. going to take me just a second. I'm just going to add a new connection here, just real quick. We'll go back through and find that. This is probably nothing that you need to do. I just have to do it on my end to make sure that I'm able to pull everything up correctly. Okay, so I found it right here. It's going to be Intro to GIS. It's going to be in my labs. We'll say this is lab 8. We want to store it in results. And we're going to call it block groups projected. Groups underscore projected. You can call it dot shape if you want. Doesn't really matter. We'll hit save. The output coordinate system, we said that was going to go into Texas statewide systems, so we're going to go back into here. Projected coordinate systems, state systems, scroll to the bottom for Texas. Scroll all the way down, we'll find it right here, the Texas statewide mapping system. Okay, we called it block groups projected, and then we'll just hit OK. Down here we'll see that it says project. And so that we know it's running. It's probably going to take a little while, especially if your computer is really slow, because there's a lot of block groups in here. There were only 254 counties, but there's so many, block groups, within Texas here that it's probably going to take a while for your computers to load it. And then finally reproject it. And when it reprojects, we'll go ahead and I'll show you the two different ways of checking that that projection. Okay, so it's finished running on my end. We see the green check mark by project, so we know that it ran correctly. I have a new deal here that popped up, a new layer that popped up. We're going to go ahead and check it according to the instructions. So we'll create a new blank map. We're going to add block groups projected as soon as a new blank map opens. We'll go ahead and hit add data. We'll find that results folder. Block groups projected right there. And then we'll check that projection. So we'll go to right click, go to properties. We'll go to source tab, and we'll see that it is the NAT83 Texas statewide projection system, or Texas statewide mapping system. There we go. So it was projected correctly. So from here, what you need to do is the deliverable for this is the projection file. So what you want to do, and this is why it's essential to save all these things accurately. Don't save it in the, your default.gdb. You want to save it in a results folder specifically for this project. Very important. I'm going to go ahead and look at block groups projected. And we see I've got a bunch of different files here, right? So this section here applies only to county projected. This whole thing here is a shape file. A shape file is a data set of, files, right? So here we also see that we've got a bunch of files that apply to block group projected, okay? And because I have stored those in my results folder, I can go in and look at those and see each individual one. CPG, DBF, PRJ, shapefile, don't worry about the lock, and then an SHX, the index file. All right. The only one we need to be concerned with is this PRJ file right here. We looked at this earlier when we were looking at county projected. We right-clicked on it, opened it up in our notepad. The same thing goes here. This is the file that you're going to submit for your completed work for this week. And if we right click on it and we go to open with and we hit notepad, we can see that it's project coordinate system, NAD 1983 Texas statewide mapping system. So that's correct. So you would want to copy this and attach it to your upload for the week. Pretty easy stuff. Just basically follow the directions. But you need to think through what's happening when you follow those directions. We reprojected from one projection type to another. And so basically that's it. I mean, this is really easy stuff, and it should be a pretty easy grade for the week. It's either it's not subjective. There's no trying to figure out if there's a different color that needs to be used, or no layout windows or anything like that. No trying to figure out a title. It's either it's right or it's wrong. So should be pretty easy. In any case, if I had to give the advice to it, I would say to make sure that you track and check where those shape files are stored, and you can do that. You do that within the in the project tool. That's going to be this section right here. Make sure that it is within your results folder that you have created for this project, and that's going to allow you to track and find where that projection file is, so you can submit it for your assignment. But anyway, this is easy stuff. About under 30 minutes to go through projections for you. As always, let us know if you have any questions, and we will try to get to them as soon as possible.